Good morning. Holy cow, Bills Mafia. We thought we were going to have a week off, but we didn't even get a full 24 hours off. You are joining us live here, a whole panel of us, because the Bills have relieved head coach Sean McDermott of his duties as the head coach of the Buffalo Bills. Let's get some immediate reactions. We're going to start with Greg Thompson down here. Greg, how you doing, buddy?
Wait, we're live? Am I getting fired? Like, did you guys bring me to?
You didn't get the memo?
Is it I'm Joe Pesci walking into the room? Like, hey guys, what's going on? Oh no. Obviously, we've all talked about the possibilities. I had my moment earlier this season where I turned. I had fully thought he had redeemed himself. I thought the coaching job through the injuries to finish this year. I really thought he was going to survive this. And if you had asked me to bet money that, hey, one of the leaders of this organization gets fired, it's either Sean McDermott or Brandon Beane, I would have lost a ton of money this morning that it was Sean McDermott getting fired and Brandon Beane staying here. So we'll talk a lot about what it means, how this happened, who our options are going forward. But I am absolutely shocked.
And good morning, buddy. I'm sure you're echoing the same sentiments here as we're all kind of processing this.
Yeah, 1,000%. We were talking a little bit about it offline, and Erik had some good points about the, kind of continuity and draft and scouting pieces and things, and from a front office standpoint. But I just kind of thought if you're going to let go of McDermott, you let go of Beane as well. And I understand, I'm not saying this to say like Sean McDermott's perfect and he's not flawed. Like we've seen things go sideways, on the field or with him. And, and he's not perfect. I'm not saying any of that to say that, but there are a good handful of decisions that have impacted this team negatively that can also be kind of laid at the feet of Brandon Beane. And so if Sean McDermott is going to bear the responsibility of like this team not getting over the hump and or failing, Brandon Beane kind of deserves just as much, if not more responsibility. You can kind of devil's advocate that kind of however you want. So I just think it's really interesting that we saw the McDermott news, and then I kind of was waiting for the other shoe to drop or axe to drop. And then instead, like you had pulled up, we saw, nope, Brandon Beane staying on. He'll lead the search. Erik, I know you had some great thoughts on that of like, okay, maybe why you would do that. And similarly with what happened with Doug Whaley when Sean McDermott initially came on. But yeah, just a lot of things going sideways right now.
I got to agree with Greg. If I was going to bet that one of the two, Beane and McDermott, were going to be fired, it almost felt for the entire year it was likely to be Beane. Yeah. Just when you're talking about the breadcrumbs of the press conferences throughout the year, the over the top of McDermott talking about, hey, we needed speed at receiver, and how excited he was to bring on Mecole Hardman, guys like that with speed. And so there was breadcrumb wise, there were some riffs that you could kind of, draw those conclusions, but also talking to sources, it did, where there was smoke, there was some fire apparently. And so I can understand, why they went and did this, because I'm thinking to myself, like, there's a lot of great things about McDermott and his consistency, his messages, but after, 9 years of the same message and 9 years of coming so close, and every season it's something different. I mean, even to the point of, against the Broncos with him being over the top of, making his point at the presser, then calling, Jay and the Buffalo News or the media room. And that felt over the top, almost as if he was compensating and knew going into this, this game and eventually that loss, that his job was on the line. He was letting it all out. He was getting it out to the media. Hey, this is how I really feel about it. I'm fighting for Buffalo. And so that felt like something, and so you put it all together. It makes sense that they moved on from McDermott. And I'm with you. I would want both of them gone, Beane and McDermott. But as we'll talk here in a few minutes, I think when it comes to the draft and evaluation, and even getting a new coach, I do think that I understand them waiting. And this is not to say that maybe Beane's, he doesn't get fired later. We don't know that. Like right now they're saying, Rappaport says, Brandon Beane will remain and help lead the search for a new coach. So who knows about his future, but the calluses that this team has had, right, guys? Like the calluses, they're real and they do show up and experience in these big games. But after a while, those calluses also kind of hinder your ceiling.
Yeah. My immediate reaction to this was Brandon Beane ought to also be gone. I said this the whole time during the drought. We talked about it a little bit offline. I reference my brother, the Bears fan, all the time. I think when you have overlap of the person that gets the groceries versus the person that cooks, that creates a little bit of spinning your tires if you don't line it up right and you don't have people on the same page. And maybe to Erik's point, this is just a process to sort of buffer this while Terry Pegula figures out who's going to lead this next, and that Brandon Beane maybe is gone in the future. But there's a lot of stuff here that is Sean McDermott's thumbprint all over this roster that, you know, regardless of if you were on the Fire McDermott train here for the last 6 years, or if you were just coming around like I was to like, I don't even care. Sure, change it, whatever we got to do. Like, I don't want to fire him, but I can get on board with firing him. Now, you know, we were talking offline. You've got a defense that's pretty specific to Sean McDermott's mold and a lot of assets tied up in that defense and limited salary cap. And you've got a lot of players under contract. So this is going to be, you know, depending on the person that they bring in, there's going to be maybe not a full rebuild, but there is going to be a retooling of how Buffalo does stuff, and they are up against it, trying to retool. This isn't a situation like some of the other coaching situations where you don't have a whole lot, but you got a lot of cap, you got a lot of draft resources where this guy can come in and make his mark on the team. This is going to have Sean McDermott's fingerprint on it for at least the next season, if not more. And so it's going to be interesting to see who it is they bring in, if it's somebody completely from the outside. I know online there's some speculation of, you know, Joe Brady got a lot of interviews. I know a lot of fans probably don't want to hear that, but maybe that puts some pressure on the Bills to say, hey, he's going to leave the building most likely. Maybe that's what Josh wants. We know Josh has a lot of say. I'm guessing Josh signed off on this or was at least asked. I kind of hope that he was actually asked about this and where his head is at. I'm sure he's going to have say in whoever the next coach is. I know Diana Rossini was out there tweeting about maybe Brian Daboll and rumblings about that. So it's going to be very interesting here over the next week. I do want to see, you know, in the YouTube comments, there's a bunch of lists out there of head coaches. So if you guys got ideas of who you think should be the head coach going forward for this Buffalo Bills, please put that in the comments. One interesting one from Field Yates here. The NFL is so crazy, dude. Mike Vrabel was hired 372 days ago and is now technically the longest tenured coach in the AFC East. Incredible.
Oh, good point.
Incredible.
Greg, let me ask you, do you think Josh and this team had a sense that something was coming, whether it's, you know, the Super Bowl or bust feeling? Because again, I talked about McDermott's reaction to the refs. Josh's reaction, you know, in the locker room and obviously in his presser, that was a little of a curveball as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the handful of things. I had joked before that I hated Brooke Cromer's tweets the last couple weeks that like were like, oh man, one last game here. I was like, what do you mean one last game? And like, obviously now in hindsight, it was pretty clear that exactly what my fear was, is that it was Coach Cromer retiring. You now see, you picked out something I had noted about McDermott and the like, I'm setting up for Buffalo, damn it. Like almost not out of character, but I don't want to say performative because that's unfair, because I would do all kinds of desperate things to keep a, you know, $10 million a year job. It seemed like this was a known possibility.
Public leverage is the way I was kind of coining it. There was a little public leverage going on there for him. It just was weird, man. It's you don't want to like assume things, but I will say there was a lot more emotional responses from players than in previous heartbreaking season-ending losses. Like, we've had some season-ending losses, some famous ones, some like, you know, we're part of the game of the year every freaking year. Rule changing ones.
I mean, just wait till they figure
out all the games
that
get like names and labels, but on the bad end.
Wait till they figure out. So, by the way, someone told me that the interception, Cook's catch interception, Mile High Heist. I get that was a pretty good one. Somebody threw at me. That they see, and again, I don't think there was public knowledge that, hey, if we lose, McDermott's fired. but there was enough emotional response and all the things going on here that it seemed like a moment, and that was known to everyone there, like, hey, maybe this has run its course.
To me, though, the smoke that I saw, especially from media and maybe people in the know, felt that maybe it would be the opposite, right? That Beane was kind of the guy. You saw a lot of people rallying around Sean McDermott's ability to coach this bad roster. It was all about the bad roster, and Beane didn't put them in a position to win, and that Sean McDermott coached his butt off this year, and that he did more with less. Like, that was just you heard it from not just one, multiple people kind of pounding that same drum, which made me think, hey, maybe they know something kind of behind the scenes. So this one, like, kind of hit me sideways.
Not even the drum beat. I thought it was accurate. I thought that was what I watched. I thought McDermott did a better job coaching than Beane did putting their roster together.
But I'll say this, like, nationally, it felt like the McDermott narrative, and him, not living up to this team and taking this team where they needed to be. It felt like the national media was pushing that McDermott was probably on his way out or on the hot seat. But locally, the media was saying, no, it's Beane. I'm telling you, there's some different PR stuff going on here, whether you're talking breadcrumbs, again, through the media, local versus national. It felt like it was opposite. And then, of course, some of the stuff behind the scenes, even locally, sounded like it would be Beane out and not McDermott, but nationally it was different.
So we're going to talk publicly about this because I'm going to guess there's going to be a new director of PR for the Bills. Who do you think controls the narratives of who gets information locally around the team, and who is that person loyal to? So is it shocking that the local news was closer to that narrative, whereas I to be completely honest, I don't know who Sean McDermott's agent is versus who Brandon Beane's agent is, but it certainly seemed like that might have a different element of who has connections nationally, where locally the person who holds the purse strings and decides who gets access to what around the team is loyal to Sean McDermott.
He loves us too.
He's a big fan of Cover One. He's a big fan of Cover One.
Go ahead.
We had a couple comments. People saying Tomlin. The Bills are not going to trade for Tomlin's rights.
So let's not go down the path. I have a graphic with all the candidates. I want to talk about Mike Tomlin, but yeah, I'll be annoyed if we trade a draft pick for another defensive CEO coach.
Here, let's run through a couple of these super chats here. I don't want to miss out on this. We appreciate you guys joining us here.
Did K. Omari apologize?
K. Omari, this is all my fault. My life never been more complete and empty at the same time. Hashtag Fire McDermott lives on forever and eternal. That's a reference to our Cover One Discord channel. K. Omari has been, every time anything happens or anybody says anything, it's Fire McDermott. And he finally, you say it enough times, you put it out in the universe and finally get what you want. Nameless Wilkins, I'm going to be sick. I'm not there, but it's definitely
fine.
Definitely
I'm
surprising.
Sad is good.
Yeah, sad is fine. Phil F716. Now we're going to trust Beane, a guy who has our cap in utter disarray, and subtly right the ship and find a new coach. We're still broke. Shake my head emoji.
Fair.
That's fair.
Broke.
I mean, I'm more worried about trusting Terry Pegula than Beane on finding a coach. Here we go. Kel 4055. Always see you here in the shows. Thank you very much. This only makes sense to me if they can get Kurt Cignetti after tonight's game.
First off, Cignetti. $100 million gives Kurt Cignetti $100 million to come coach my football team. I love him. That's not going to happen. For anyone interested, that's not going to happen. Mark Cuban is going to pay him in Bitcoin, and he's never going to he's never going to want again in life. Kurt Cignetti is all set, but
I don't think that jump from college to the pros is what it used to be with the money going in college. Not sure. Oh, sorry, Jason M. Not sure if this is right or wrong, but it does make me sad. We came a long way with him. He did so much for the team. Hurts they didn't get to take it all the way. He deserved it. He will always be appreciated by me. Yeah, one thing I do want to say, these guys are people at the end of the day, and even though they're rich from their job, he's got a family that's rooted here in Buffalo. Grew up here. He did pour everything into it. So like the whatever he's made you hurt as a fan, there's still a human side to this, and I am sad for the McDermotts today.
So let's do one last piece on McDermott here before we start looking forward. Let's go around. Aaron, you could start this here. Any final thoughts on him, and then maybe a draft pick of where do you think he'd be the best fit? Because I think he's absolutely going to get a job, and I think there are multiple places that will benefit greatly from his culture building and infrastructure.
I think he's going to go to Pittsburgh. And I think he'll be the coach of Pittsburgh. He's a Pennsylvania guy.
It's a good one.
So that feels like a fit for him. And that is the type of organization that likes McDermott's type of structure. So that feels natural to me. How about you, Greg?
I think it's like a mile and a half from my house. Like the Browns practice facility is like right down the road from my house. I drive by it all the time. I think it's them, it's Arizona, it's Tennessee. It's one of these teams that need that, like, hey, we need an adult in the room to come turn this into a professional organization and to come make us grown-ups. Like, come show us how this is supposed to work and how this is supposed to happen. So, somewhere in that order, I'd rank Tennessee, Cleveland, or Arizona.
Oh, that's fair. I like Aaron's Pittsburgh take I just think he would fit that organization so well, the roots and everything. My other one was Arizona. I just think they would benefit really from and honestly, what he did with the Bills, right? Like all joking aside, and not to get into it too much, but what he did in righting the ship and how important the culture was that he established. And I always remember what Emmanuel Sanders said when he came here. Like, that's a Super Bowl winning dude who's been around greatness. And he came and talked about the atmosphere and environment and the culture, and all these vets that were coming here and players and guys who would leave and come back would talk about McDermott. He was so important in establishing that and turning this team around and this franchise around. And I see a team like Arizona, for example, that is kind of like all over the place and needs someone to kind of steady them and right the ship. And I think he would be a solid guy to kind of put in there, really kind of build you up. They got a bunch of young talent. They've got some picks you kind of take and go from there. I think it would be a fit. I feel like he also maybe might take a year off, maybe depending on how upset he is over this. Or who knows, maybe he's still fired up. He's like, no, screw it. Let me get back.
It might be a spiteful.
Yeah, that's super fair.
Eric, where do you think he lands?
Yeah, I like those picks. I think Pittsburgh. I think you're right on there. I think I didn't think Cleveland would be one just because I feel like Andrew Berry wants to stay cutting edge, and I think
the guy we saw eating dinner all by himself at the Senior Bowl.
Yes, the guy that was sitting all by himself in his BlackBerry instead of with his entire staff in Mobile. I just feel like he would lean more towards offensive-minded type guy again. I thought Stefanski was a great coach. I think he got, there were some things that he did wrong there, but I think offensively he's a pretty good coach. And when you're talking structure, very McDermott-like when you're talking about that, which is why he got hired like that. But I mean, Tennessee, I think so. I'll just throw that one out there too, because, you guys mentioned it as well. But I want to talk about Beane here because I a lot of the comments about Beane versus McDermott. And I talked about, offline before we went live about why firing him right now is not the best move. You guys already talked about, hey, do you really want Pegula leading this search? And two, the evaluation part of it. Him and his personnel staff have been scouting for this draft class over the last 2 to 3 years. And so if you fire him now, who are you going to have run the draft? And so much like the Whaley, right? When Whaley was fired, it was right after the draft, which is why he takes credit for, the draft of that year. And so firing Beane now, I think you're just really kind of blowing things up. And when it comes to the coaching search, but also when it comes to the draft. And as we all know, given the situation with the salary cap and everything, this draft is pretty important. And so I don't think firing Beane right now would be the move. I think it would be after the draft. Let them do the work. I know, Aaron, you have a good idea if you were to fire Beane and who could get promoted there. But I just think that those two factors are really huge here. And I will say, and I'll add, we talked about the national media narrative and how it was on McDermott being fired and how locally everyone thought, the media thought that it would be Beane. Within the team, from what I'm just told, within the team, they thought it would be Beane as well.
I think when you talk to local folk, if you had to run a poll of who gets fired or who gets hired quicker if they're fired, if it was Sean McDermott or Brandon Beane, it's Sean McDermott. right? Like Brandon Beane could go a full cycle here and have to go work his way back as a assistant GM or to like go work for Dan Morgan or something like that. Like I don't know that some team turns around and hires a Brandon Beane with.
I would wager he doesn't. That he does not get an immediate head coaching or GM job.
How much of that in the conversation around Beane do we think is due to the ugliness on the radio and then what happened with receiver after? Do we think that's of the 100% pie, do we think that's like 50 to 70%, or is it?
It's all negative. It's all negative for Beane, but over the last year to 2 years, everything is McDermott's positive and evolved, and it just again it's different direction. There's a lot of PR stuff going on here, and purposefully from now that we see this happening, it confirms almost our beliefs and some of the breadcrumbs and what we're told.
Yeah.
Well, and so I think it would be one thing if there were slam dunk top first, second round picks and consistently extensions that were exceeding or outplaying the money they just got. And then all of a sudden you had like a weird, combination of events and decisions and injuries that led to that, and he defended himself and it ended up turning out bad. But when you add in of like, hey, are we sure we should have given all these guys that money? And hey, how many of your top picks worked out? And then also now you go, so I think you layer it with, hey, there's been a handful of things here where we, for a while, a lot of defenders, including myself, could chalk up the fact of, hey, this stuff's really hard. Howie Roseman's the best GM there is. He took Jalen Reagor one pick before Justin Jefferson. This stuff's hard. Like there's no one's undefeated. Like
you want to look
everybody
at a bad cap
wins.
situation. Go check out the Eagles situation going
forward.
Yeah,
the Niners are a great organization. They also traded up for Trey Lance. This stuff's hard. So it's easy to chalk that up. But now you start to stack the Kyrie Elims and the Boogie Bashams and the Cody Fords, and you start to stack the, some of the contracts that we're now going to question. Where like, hey, I really like Gregory Rousseau, but like, man, that's a lot of money. And like, hey, I love Terrell Bernard, but like, oh, that's going to be tough. And hey, I was kind of excited about Josh Palmer, but man, that looks bad now. And Curtis Samuel and the other pieces. And now you layer in that some humility, some approach to that probably would have been received well, but now you go out and puff your chest and be like, you guys don't know what you're talking about. This isn't fantasy football, and yell at people in the public. And again, we give Jeremy and those guys a hard time, probably less than they deserve. But in that moment, like, he came on and tried to call them out and then looked worse afterwards. So I think that's more like straw that broke the camel's back, cherry on top stuff than like the full. I don't think it created it, but I think it galvanized it. I think it like was a flashpoint that pivoted that to say, oh, like anyone who was on the fence became a McDermott guy in that moment. Yes. Like that I think gave people the ammo, whereas Erik's point is perfect. Sean McDermott is a flawed coach. He is not perfect. The end of the half situation against Jacksonville, some of the different moments here were like, hey, you had the chance to do the optimal thing.
This game too. I have criticism on him on this game too.
Yeah, and you didn't take the optimal situation in the moment. Lots of stuff, game management, and then his sometimes performative or goofy personality style, but at least the constant effort to get better and the humility to want to get better and all those different things. I don't know that we've seen that.
Can I add real quick? I hate to jump in, but I will say, for all the criticism of Beane, and again, very valid, and who knows, he may be fired in the future anyways. He could create a team. Him and McDermott, when they collaborated over the last few years, they have built teams. Not the best talent, but they built teams. The roster of individuals, if you looked at it, I can understand why. If you compare it to other rosters, you're like, okay, it doesn't match up. They don't have elite. They're not heavy, top heavy. But they built very good teams, and that DNA and that character, all that coach speak actually matters. And so as much as we want to critique Beane for the actual draft picks and, the value of those picks and how they haven't developed, hand in hand, both of those guys could develop a team.
Yeah. And as much as it sucks to even like make this comment, I feel like a bunch of people will probably be annoyed by it, but like, granted, they're still losing the playoffs, but like these quote unquote, like talentless Bills teams, they're losing by like a field goal here and there to like the eventual Super Bowl winner, or even this game, like this game sucks, right? The Brandon Cooks thing, all the turnovers, all that. You lost by 3 to a 14-win 1 seed. Yeah, like in OT, like you easily could have won that game.
On 6 days rest to 13 days rest on the road, elevation, number 1 seed.
With a ton of dudes injured going in, with a couple dudes who get injured in the game, Dorian Williams on the first friggin' play, like all these things that go sideways. And again, the goal is to get over the hump. The goal is to win the Super Bowl. I am not saying that. Please, nobody be like, oh, you want your participation trophy? Here you go. I'm not saying that at all.
They will say that to you.
They will say that 1,000%. Here's this beta who's talking about, oh, it's just fun to be there. Not saying that. Yeah, not saying that. Please shut up ahead of time. The goal is to win the Super Bowl. I want the Super Bowl. Like, that's what I want. I want one before me and the older adults in my family pass away. I would like to celebrate that as much as humanly possible. But for as much as they haven't had the right roster and the right talent, and how many A-tier guys do they have? How many S-tier guys do they have? They battle year after year. They've been winning the division. They're in the Final 4 or Final 2 of the conference year after year. And there is something to be said for that team building nature and what they established and what they put together. And yes, did it get them over the hump? No, but they were extremely close a ton of times. And you can make the case that what they were doing was the right path. And so, yeah, I think that's always just kind of an interesting perspective to put in. Even, yeah, you turn the ball over 5 times at like a 1 seed, even though maybe Denver's not this amazing 1 seed, like traditional 1 seeds. But I mean, dude, like they lost in overtime by 3 points with some shoddy refsmanship, a turnover play that shouldn't have maybe been a turnover, tons of injuries, and they still almost got the job done there. It's the margins are so small. They're so
super
fine.
small.
Right?
Couple
you have the new the new team that he coaches for is going to tell themselves like, hey, we just hired a coach who's won a playoff game every year for the past 6 years. He's the only one, the only coach in the NFL that's won a playoff game 6 straight years.
One of the most successful organizations since Beane and McDermott have come in here. What's this you pulled up? I can't read it.
This is Phil.
Jordan Phillips.
Yeah. Jordan Phillips.
This ish right here is so stupid. Honestly, it's sickening. Best coach I've ever been around.
I
think you're going to see a lot of that from players. I think that'll be a common reaction. The players that I talk to, they're not as much as maybe you have, Erik, but I've never heard anybody say a bad thing about Sean McDermott. And I don't think they know I'm not going to leak anything, so they have no reason to lie to me in those situations. Real quick too, on the Sean McDermott topic, I think a lot of people talk about, Greg, you made a great point about how hard this is from a GM perspective. Like, it is difficult to do these things in the NFL. Also, coaching is hard. And I think we look at our team with such a lens, like we hyper focus on our team, and all of us are can be accused of that. But last night I watched Ben Johnson, who is seen as one of the brightest minds in football, and I do think that he deserves some of that credit, almost coach the game away at times. And I saw Sean McVay.
I would say McVay tried to as well.
Sean McVay tried to coach a game away, and we give him credit for being like, this is hard. And I think most coaches, in the moments that we criticize Sean McDermott the most, when you look at the other coaches, most of them fail in those like end of game serious moments where you need to make that right coaching decision. Andy Reid has failed at that countless times and put his team in weird situations. So the NFL is hard, and I think we probably overly judge some of these things here. But in another one, we can say what we want about Brandon Beane and the roster and stuff like that. He's actually built a really good front office. When you look at the front office and who has gone on to get GM jobs underneath him, and I think Terrence Gray will be one of these guys next that's probably going to go on to get a GM job, and there's other guys underneath him. So, you know, all criticisms aside, over the last 8 years here, this team has built a really good organization that's gone on, and it has been a model for what other organizations would like to achieve. Before we get to your list, Greg, I just want to finish some of these super chats because I don't want to be accused of not giving people their.
And then I will say a statement's come up from the Bills, and I should probably read it because it is important to what we're doing.
Let's read that first, and then we'll get to the super chats.
Okay. So this is from Terry Pegula. And you're going to learn some things as we go here of how this is going to work in the, going forward. And Erik, our idea of post-draft is out the window. The Buffalo Bills announced that Sean McDermott has been relieved of his duties as head coach. Sean has done an admirable job of leading our football team. They actually misspelled admirable and put admiral, the military thing. So whoever's in charge of PR did a bad job for that.
That is Bill Hicks.
Yeah, very, very Billsy. So Sean has done an admirable job of leading our football team for the past 9 seasons, said owner Terry Pegula. But I feel we are in need of new structure within our leadership to give this organization the best opportunity to take our team to the next level. We owe that to our players and to Bills Mafia. Sean helped change the mindset of this organization and has been instrumental in the Bills becoming perennial playoff team. I respect all the work, loyalty, and attention to detail he showed for this team and the community. I wish Sean, Jamie, and his family all the best. Moving forward, Brandon Beane will now serve as the president of football operations, general manager of the Buffalo Bills. Brandon will oversee all facets of our football operation, including the oversight of our coaching staff. I have full faith and have witnessed Brandon's outstanding leadership style and have confidence in his abilities to lead our organization. Brandon will be leading the search for a new head coach and will now work directly with Pegula and Pete Gailey, who will now serve as president of business operations during the interview hiring process.
Whew.
I don't like
So he
this.
got
This was
promoted.
a coup.
He got
So he
promoted.
got
That's what I was
promoted.
saying. He got promoted.
This was a coup. And Sean McDermott just got stabbed in the back, thrown overboard.
Yeah, I don't like this at all. I like this less now. I'm frustrated.
Yeah, that does not sit well with me. My initial reaction is this is a huge mistake, and this was, maybe I'll be proven wrong in the future here, but this has been my issue where people are like, oh, you just don't want to see change, you're scared of change. No, I'm scared of Terry Pegula and his ability to make good decisions.
As a Sabres, as a person who follows the Sabres a lot, yeah, this is like I've joked about that.
So,
like
it's
throughout.
Real quick, Ant, on that note, you talked about how much of it was the WGR interview. Tell me honestly, how much of this was Terry seeing Kevin Adams get fired and then the spark for the Sabres team and the seed that planted in Terry's mind?
I just got goosebumps thinking about that, but in like a negative way. Yeah,
but you're
maybe.
A Sabres guy. Is it wrong though? I think that's a correlation that isn't causation, because the Sabres just got healthy.
Yeah,
I don't know. Like they just got, and it was Kevin Adams' roster.
Yes, they were starting to like. I mean, even Adams got fired in the middle of that road.
It was a three games into the 10-game
they had already
streak.
started winning a little bit, and yeah, like you're getting the jokes of like, oh man, like Josh Doan is killing it. Like whoever acquired him, like did such a great job this offseason, like this and that, and yeah, like the Sabres started to get healthy and they started to gel. Now there are some rumblings of like the team maybe kind of knew he was going to be on the outs. And so that started to make them feel better. And they rose up and started to play knowing he was on the way out. You could devil's advocate that. But yeah, like I think that's a super great point on both sides. And yeah, now and to Greg's point, I shudder to think like Pegula being like, well, I mean, look what it did for the Sabres. So we should do the same thing. And it's like, oh, but that would also be so Pegula to be like, you know, Adams is more Beane. Lindy Ruff would be McDermott. You did the wrong one, and I could see him being like, "Oh
yes.
no, I made a mistake.
I fudged this up." Yeah, I mean the players' reactions, I think, will speak to.
Yes,
I'm guessing Big Phil isn't the only one we're going to get that reaction from. And I know while we were talking, Erik shared the one from LaShawn McCoy. LaShawn McCoy's comment was, wait, so the GM stays after all these non-talented rosters and absolutely no help for Josh on offense, and what they did with that defense only in the NFL.
Dude, my phone, my watch is just buzzing.
Yeah,
right now. We're just like, it's just constant. Holy shit.
Let's talk about this. So hold on real quick.
Yeah.
Okay, Beane essentially got a promotion. Now he's president of football operations / GM. Again, I'm trying to wrap my head around both the responsibilities of both of those positions. All right, obviously, when it comes to coaching search, okay, he's got full power for that. But when it comes to day-to-day and week-to-week things, that almost lends me to believe when it comes to roster stuff, are they going to promote someone?
Yeah.
Because president of football operations
title,
usually oversees the GM.
Yeah.
But right now he is both, because again, he's leading that search, and so I feel
this could totally be a Terrence Gray or a Brian Gaine or someone like that could become the GM in name, but still report into. And I will say, all this aside, from a leadership structure, I actually prefer a hierarchy versus a GM and a head coach separately reporting to the owner. I prefer there being one football guy in charge of everything. This wouldn't be how I would have designed that. This wouldn't be the person, but the hierarchy, I think this is a better improvement. And I think that's what Terry was sold.
And I think there was a power struggle between McDermott and Beane. Because again, I've been talking to people behind the scenes over the course of the year. There have been moves that McDermott wanted made that weren't made. There were moves that McDermott orchestrated before Beane could get to, and it became a really positive for us when it comes to Trey White. And so there are things that happen behind the scenes. This power structure, that was the issue, which is why I think it makes sense when you're talking McDermott and all the things he was saying in these pressers and these little jabs. There was some kind of power structure and obviously a restructure and promotion for Beane. But again, I'm still in wait and see mode on what that means, because Beane has always been that guy that's wanted to move up and up and up and up. And so president of football operations, that's almost to the top now.
Pretty high.
And so do they have someone that they are going to promote to work under Beane as that GM or assistant GM technically or whatever? I think Brandon Beane may actually be posing to have less hands on the actual roster going forward. Again, this is just my initial reaction because it feels empty. It doesn't feel right to me that he not only was not fired, was promoted. And I think it's more of some kind of new structure is coming, obviously, because that was a pretty big move all in itself.
Yeah, I think I said it offline. Terrence Gray feels like a guy that is on the cusp of leaving the Buffalo Bills for a real job as his own GM. And so I do think that talent pool, it would make sense to me to find a way to promote him, to prevent him from leaving. He is really good at his job. Greg, you mentioned Brian Gaine. I think that's another good option for it. So there's options beyond Beane to come up and make that. And that would be one of my concerns if you do fire everyone, is there's a lot of good coaches. There's a lot of good front office staff here. It's not all bad, and you don't want to throw it all out just because you're moving on from one of the top of leadership. But here, let me get to these super chats and we'll get to some lists of coaches and talk about the potential future here. We had Rick Laser, who's always supportive of us. I see you constantly, both on social media and here. For all the fans asking for this moment, it's yours. I hate it, to be honest. Yeah, a lot of Bills Mafia has been clamoring for this, so they finally get what they want. Although a lot of the guys with that have made their identities about firing Sean McDermott I've even seen some of them come off of that here this year. So it is definitely less than before. I will learn how to pronounce Theona Tompufus at some point. I will learn it. Theontopoulos, you're always here. We appreciate you. Thanks for getting the emergency video up. Absolutely love Cover One. Glad you guys are breaking this down and putting the work out here. Keep up the great work. We appreciate you. Our families are probably all suffering a little bit here on a holiday day for us to be able to do this for you. So we appreciate that. Jason M, also always here. I will say this: when I saw the pain of the players after the game, I was wondering if the feeling of the organization would be made to reset mentally going forward. Erik, you sort of spoke to that too, that it felt different in the response of a team that has experienced this stuff. Theona again, you can't look at this year as an independent cause for his firing. It needs to be accumulative, and over his tenure, he didn't get the job done. Yeah, I mean, the NFL keeps moving with or without you, so I agree with that. Mechanical memories. Dable feels like he's going to be back. Dable feels like going back to the well. Feels like we could be on the cusp of having a new coach every 2 to 3 seasons if we don't nail this one. Oh, God, guys,
that's the side of it. And one of the points, like forever, I've always been real quick. Sorry. Like I've always been on the fence of, like, if you told me McDermott was going to go, I was like, okay. If you told me McDermott was staying, I was like, okay. My thing has always just been, the grass is not always greener. Like, you don't know. You could bring in somebody new and you could hit gold. You could bring in somebody new and it could be terrible. And yeah, you're getting a new coach every 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, I don't want to live there again at all. Ex insiders saying Bills players are shocked. Nerve ADC saying that. Brandon 716. Appreciate you guys. Whatever happens, go Bills, bro. Thank you for tuning in here.
I got lotion in my eyes. I'm not crying because of Sean McDermott. I don't want anybody to be looking at emotional answers.
Someone screen grab it. Someone screen grab it now.
I'm glad that you're lotioning this time of year. Winter is important.
My hands are super dry. So yeah, then I rubbed my eye and I was like, damn it. It got in my eye.
Your boy Lettuce 7394. Thanks for the great season, guys. I'm about 90% certain Beane won because he got Josh to sign off on this because he was sold on the Brady promotion.
We'll talk about that. That's not crazy.
I was saying it offline. There's going to be some feeling of we can't let some guys leave. Have to maybe make some changes here. Carl Thoman, I see you here everywhere as well. Appreciate you constantly supporting us. I'm disgusted. Brandon Cooks was down by contact, no question, ruled otherwise. Texas wide receiver Xavier Hutchinson and
It happened
Ram.
twice. The next 2 games, it
Dude,
happened twice.
the universe was trolling us yesterday, just absolutely trolling us. We're down by contact on similar plays, but it was McDermott's fault to the point where you guys were all talking about the games that the Bills are constantly in rule changes. I won't be shocked if there's a push for a rule change of allowing challenges in overtime due to what happened here over the weekend. So the people that hate that the Bills get the rules changed,
That would be a pattern.
it may happen again.
That will be a pattern.
We got E-Boy List again. What is Bruce Arians doing?
He's smoking a cigar at a beach somewhere.
Yeah.
Bruce is good.
Living
He's
life.
fine. And then Nerve ADC again. Is there any chance at all about the possibility of QBI? We will give
Just wait for the list.
a list coming up here.
we'll
And
get
then the last one here again, Fiona Puffus, close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. Yeah, that's true. It's true. You got to get it done. So let's transition from the reaction to this news and how we're feeling to what's next. Greg, I know you got a list here to pull up of some possible candidates.
Yeah, so I'll put this up now. I think
This is where we need producer Colin. No, that's me.
now it's just
Nobody
Aaron by
wants to see
himself.
that. Yeah. Is this your list here?
Yeah, it's
It's not allowing you to
I got hold on. I got
remove. Oh, okay. There we go.
Here, let me get this out of here.
oh, we got to remove
And
the other one.
this.
There we go.
There we
Now we're good. There we go. See, teamwork. Okay, so there's 4 columns here, and this is from I scrolled through
We knew you would have this, Greg.
a bunch of
Aaron and I are
other
like, I'm sure Greg has a list. Yep, he does.
a bunch of other websites and who they listed. So there's not a ton of science to the order. So this is not a ranking, but I did split them into the 2 left ones are guys who have previous head coaching experience, offense and defense. Then the right columns are often like guys who are interviewing for jobs now in either would be a first-time head coach as an offensive play caller, first time as a defensive. So I think we can go through and actually like remove some or black out some pretty quickly because there's some of these that pretty clearly are not going to sign on to report to Brandon Beane in the experience column. So guys like a Harbaugh, guys like a Tomlin, guys like Belichick was listed there, but I don't see them coming in and signing on to be in that spot. I know obviously people are going to talk about Brady and Dable there, but there's a handful here that I don't know if Stefanski would have been my number 1 choice. So I think is that done in Atlanta? Is he officially?
Yesterday, I thought I saw that was done.
I thought so.
Yeah.
He would have been near the top of my list as far as, again, I've been talking, hey, if we're going to make a change, I will say there's some really good guys. Jesse Minter is going to be a great coach. I think Hafley's going to be a good coach. I think Shula's going to be a good coach. This has to be offensive. We've rotated with Josh Allen for so long. I think it has to be an offensive guy. But
one quick note.
Typically how it goes, right? Opposite. They kind of swing in the opposite direction.
This is going to be a player friendly, a little bit looser, play calling offensive coach who's very analytically driven for the optimal outcomes. Yeah.
So Mike
Can you do me a favor? Yeah. Can you do me a
God.
favor? Because it's triggering me. Can you get Mike McCarthy off my screen? If that happens, I might be out. And another side to the defensive stuff, wherever this goes, we were talking about this offline. There's a lot of resources tied up in a very specific defense for Sean McDermott. And some of these defensive guys would be a 2 to 3 year overhaul.
Yeah, especially Shula and Minter, especially like Weaver too. Well, Hafley you could kind of make work a little bit. Shula and Minter would be like you need a couple seasons to.
I like them as coaches, but
I think they're both going to be good future coaches. Right. I don't think we see any of these guys strongly considered because I think that there's going to be a full focus on it has to be offense.
Yeah.
So Mike McDaniel.
Yeah, and then I think when you start talking about that, I think Josh Allen gets maybe more say than I'm even comfortable with maybe him having, knowing what at least we have to take with a grain of salt what we've been told Josh Allen signs off on because he's a company guy. So he's always going to toe the company line. But we know that Dalton Kincaid was something that potentially he pounded the table for. Keon Coleman was one that
I'll go
said that he pounded the table for.
I do think the one, I don't know if it was a comment or a rumor or whatever it was, I think it's impossible not to connect the dots that Brandon Beane won over Josh Allen to
yeah.
advocate for this, and that I'm guessing has a plan, and we'll talk through it here. But that plan very likely, in my opinion, involves one of these three names. I don't know for sure, but I think it is super likely that the plan that Brandon Beane pitched involves, hey, I can't make either insert name Brian Dable, Joe Brady, or Davis Webb. I can't make them your coach if Sean's still here. You have to sign off on this with me. I'll take over the whole organization. I'll get you the guy you want. We'll build around him. And like, although I would love to see us take a shot on Clint Kubiak, it's the only name I have above Joe Brady here. I think it's one of those three names, or a combination where it's, hey, Joe Brady comes in above, but we bring in Davis Webb as the OC, or some combination of that.
I have a Greg question real quick, because I know in your day job you deal with people and hiring, and you're a boss. And in the times that I've been a boss in a situation, I did it as a young guy, and I made the mistake of being friends with people underneath me. And I have said this a couple times with the Brandon Beane, Josh Allen thing. It's nice that there's like a family aspect to this Buffalo Bills, but I think it's almost a dangerous relationship to be so friendly with the guys underneath you. And I think it could be hurting the Bills that they're that friendly. How do you feel?
I've had roles in different ones. At one point, like 2,500 people reporting to me. Right now it's only about 500. I believe strongly you need to be friendly with everyone that you work with. You need to be professional and polite. You can't be friends with the people that report to you, because it clouds your judgment. Like, it's just really, really hard to make the difficult decisions on promotions, on opportunities, on disciplinary or performance evaluations. Like, it's really, really hard when you have a close personal relationship. So I strongly try not to. Matter of fact, I even go out of my way. Like, I'll have some people reach out about opportunities, but it's probably better off not to. And, of course, if somebody was good, I'd hire him. But I try very hard not to. I think it makes your job noticeably more difficult.
So let's kind of, with this list in mind. Well, one, does anyone have anyone not on this list that's like?
So let's finish talking about the three more obvious ones. Let's go on. Who else do you think should be in the running, but like has a realistic shot? I think they got to bring in Kubiak to interview him.
You have to. And if we think about, again, we're talking about a roster that you can't make many moves, right? And so you need to, Aaron, you talked about spinning the wheels and like bringing new GMs, changing systems. If you're talking offensive side of the ball, Kubiak, what they do in Seattle is very similar to what the Bills actually have on their roster right now. And he can make that work. Good offensive mind in that regard. Now, if you're talking defensive stuff, you guys crossed out Chris Shula, Jesse Minter. If you're talking defense, those two guys could make it work on the defensive side of the ball.
Sure.
And so I agree with you, Greg. I do agree that offensively, I think that's what they're going to swing towards. And I'm with you.
If they did, they'd be the exception, but I will be shocked if they go that way. But I agree. I in a normal scenario, or how about this? If Beane had been out and it was a whole new regime coming in, and there was some package where you went the other direction, I can't think of one right now. But actually, I take that back. This is dumb. They're on the screen. If you told me that it was Jesse Minter, but that he had a deal with Mike McDaniel to come with him, that like, hey, we get, or I'll flip it the other way. Chris Shula and whichever guy I've never heard the name of, but has been working with Sean McVay the whole time and is coming along.
That is what I'm saying.
Nate Shieldhouse. Asking game.
So Chris Shula and Shieldhouse come as a package, and they come over, and you tell me that, hey, it is technically a defensive coach, but he's there. I would get over it, but it would also be like, oh, that's cool. I hope we get 2 seasons with Shieldhouse until he gets a head coaching job. Awesome. That'll be a fun 2 seasons.
And I think that's why Kubiak is higher than what we're talking about here, because he comes from that tree. He comes from that same tree. He's coming again. He has that system in place, and it's very similar when you're talking like progression type reading. Like a lot of it translates to what Josh has been doing the last few years, but also it is in line with the trends of the league and the Shanahan McVay tree, and where they're kind of leading that trend and have probably half the head coaching jobs at this rate right now.
Could he bring Aiden Dirty with him? Because I think McDonald is calling the plays in Seattle, and Dirty is there as the defensive coordinator, and Kubiak could tell him, hey, I'll come over, you come with, and you get to call your own defense now, and then we get that package coming together.
Yeah, so I would say Kubiak for me, but you guys made some great points and even got me on board with like maybe Brady is high up on this list, and as he should be, given what he's done the last couple years.
Interviews
How about this?
And the interviews,
whether it's the Bills or not, I think Joe Brady's getting a head coaching job because there's too many openings and not enough. Look at the list here. Like
I think
even the hot ones that we go through, there's not enough people above Joe Brady. Like he's going to get one of these 8 head coaching jobs.
I feel it in my. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, who's the Rooney Rule interview that the Bills?
Oh, God, I hate that. That's the thing.
The Rooney Rule, right?
Yeah.
So one, if we were doing this more genuinely, and I thought defensive coaches were actually being considered, I would want them to interview Robert Saleh. I'd want them to interview Brian Flores. I'd want them to interview Mike McDaniel. I'd want them to interview Anthony Weaver. Those are all
of those they should.
Like those are all fully capable, qualified guys that I would want. Now, in this particular moment, I don't want a defensive coach, but those are guys. That's how I think they will do it, because those are qualified guys who deserve to be considered. I hope that they don't go that route.
A lot of Mike McDaniel conversation. And I get it. He is an offensive mind. I don't think he's a culture builder. I think he's the opposite.
I don't want him as head coach.
I want him as I'd take him any day of the week as an OC. Yeah, I don't want him as the head coach. Like if you give me as the offense, like I love that idea of like let him be the OC. Like, my thought this offseason.
Let's go down that path a minute. And like my whole pitch was I want my offensive Steve Spagnuolo when I assumed we were keeping Sean McDermott. Exactly. I want my offensive Steve Spagnuolo. Give me the guy that isn't going to get another head coaching job. Do we think how weird Mike McDaniel was and how the other owners were like, yeah, I'm not having those capri pants leading my organization. I think there's a very real possibility somebody can get a Josh McDaniel situation here and snag Mike McDaniel as a long-term OC that does not get another shot, but is actually, as weird as he is, he's brilliant. You hear like the stuff that Kyle Shanahan had him preparing for him when they were together. Like, I think he really is very smart. And if I could have him just in charge of that little bubble of just offense, but not the overall organization, that package, you give me Shula or Minter with Mike McDaniel, is the only scenario I'd be okay with not having an offensive play caller.
And that was my thought. Like going in, I just thought Brady, Aaron mentioned it too. Like Brady's been getting so many interviews. I think Brady's going to get a head. My thought was, okay, Brady's going to get a head coaching job somewhere. There's an opening at OC. Mike McDaniel, head coaching stuff didn't work out, although he's getting interviews for head coaching stuff. I was like, bring him in, let him run that side of the ball. McDermott, cool, take that. So yeah, I was in lockstep there. I don't want him necessarily as a head coach, although I do really appreciate what he does offensively. My gut feeling, I don't know why. I really like Clint Kubiak. I would take Clint right now. Like if you told me I could sign up for anybody, I would take Clint Kubiak right now from a defense. I know we don't want defense necessarily, but just because he's done it before and I really like him, I would take Robert Saleh, like because I know what
I think he's going to be good in his next stop.
Yes,
pretty easy translation for the Bills.
He's another one for Pittsburgh that I see as a good fit for the Steelers.
And for the Bills, like Erik said, like it's the translation of like scheme, personnel, what they already have. Well, he's another one who like Fred Warner goes down, Bosa goes
the most out
of, yes. Anybody who was good for the Niners defense this year largely was hurt for a good chunk of time, and he managed to kind of cobble a lot of good stuff together. I thought he got a raw deal with the Jets. Those Jets defenses were killer year after year. Their offense was just terrible.
That whole organization outside of the defense was terrible.
Yes, absolutely. Like if you could give me like Robert Saleh with Mike McDaniel as the OC, I'd be like, oh man. But the top two for me, from just of a known capacity and also like the other end of the excitement, it'd be like Saleh and Kubiak for me, or Kubiak and then Saleh, Shula, Minter, kind of like what we talked about. I also like Jeff Hafley a lot for the Packers, and just how creative he is schematically. I don't know why. My gut, I feel like Joe Brady's going to be the head coach. I just kind of.
I think there's a very real possibility this was already done.
That's what my thought is.
We're all just going through the motions, and that was the pitch. We won't know until afterwards, but there's a very good chance that when we hear the decision, it's like, oh, that was Brandon Beane's plan the entire time.
Yes.
He pitched Terry and Josh that, hey, we're going to lose Brady. We can't afford to do that. You got to get Sean out of the way.
He's interviewing with like
let me run
75
this.
teams, Terry. We got to do something,
Yeah,
Terry.
Brady is comfortable reporting to me. We don't have to have Terry, you saw how difficult this power struggle was, like me coming to you, then Sean coming to you, and like both of us having competing priorities. Like this would be so much smoother if we just have, me with the running the organization, but Joe, I'll let Joe run the day-to-day operations and the team, the team and the game day stuff. Like
He and I
I'll
have the
let him do
same
that.
vision. We think the same. There won't be any more friction.
He's friends with Josh. I think that was you guys heard me.
We can all golf. We'll let you be the fourth in our golf foursome.
Eric and Ant
Joe thinks you're super cool.
Eric and Ant can attest offline. That was the first kind of thought I had was I think maybe this this search is not going to be the search that maybe we think it is, and that it'll be a PR stunt, and that this is all going to
hate it.
Moves.
I would hate it. This is a big play.
I agree. This isn't what it's not what I want.
Yeah, I don't want it. I just think it.
I don't want to. I just think it. But you think it? I think it will. My immediate reaction is they're gonna get Joe Brady to stay for Josh to make Josh happy. I could see them getting Davis Webb as your OC in this situation. He's also under the Sean Payton kind of tree now. So you could bring him in and even make Josh more happy. And then you also have the ability to then promote Terrence Gray. So I think you are concerned about a bunch of the guys in your building leaving. I could see Brandon Beane pitching it as, hey, all these hot candidates, all this hot young talent that we have is already in house. We don't have to make big changes. We just have to make a change.
Which would be even more like of a kick in the teeth to McDermott, because then it's really just like, we thought you were the problem. You were the problem. Everything else is good. Beane stays. Brady's going to stay. You're the problem. You have to get jettisoned.
Yes.
And everything.
Well, Greg,
that would be even more.
I said it offline. You weren't here yet. I said offline, like I did take note of one of Brady's comments this past week in the press conference when talking about the communication that went on when Josh got carried, went down at the goal line, and that whole thing of, do we run out the clock? Do we score immediately? And Brady was kind of like, hey, we've all been in these spots. We all communicated well. And he sort of, I'm paraphrasing him, but like he didn't agree with how it went, but saying like, hey, I'm not the head coach, but I'm taking that kind of information so that when I am the head coach, and I'm paraphrasing, I'm putting things out there. I can't help but think that he was in Brandon Beane's ear of like, well, I would have done that a little differently if I was the guy.
So between those comments, which I noted as well, and Josh right after the game saying that everything's easy in hindsight, but glad it worked out. Like he's like, well, yeah, there was another option, but everything
I'm saying right here, right now, that was the right decision in the press.
Both, right here, right now, the way it worked out, obviously, it was the right decision. But very clearly, Joe Brady and Josh Allen wanted to take a knee, run the 40 seconds off, and then have 3 shots from the one, like crystal clear. Like they both wanted to, and McDermott overrode them and said not to. Yeah, which again, I love Sean McDermott. The one thing I will say, like, there are multiple opportunities where he makes a good decision, but not the optimal. There's like, hey, this is the best case scenario. We should probably, if you consistently try to do the thing that's the best case scenario, that's that's going to work out more. Like there's things along those lines.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, these are humans. We all look at these guys and like the infighting and stuff like that. This happens at every single person's workplace, right? Like people are trying to get each other's jobs. People like you can't convince me that Joe Brady wasn't in Brandon Beane's ear a couple times of like, hey, I would do things a little differently if
I would question you, Brandon. I just like you, Brandon. You're so handsome.
I like golf.
You like flat brim hats too.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, let's pull this list down unless anybody has any other things.
Real quick. Any other like shots in the dark, like your best case scenario? What would be your moonshot of like, hey, if I could do this perfectly, I would pick it. Let's assume we all think it's going to be one of the probably one of the internal names that we think of. Is Kubiak the best case scenario?
Offensively, yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
I'll stick with Minter McDaniel combo would be my number one choice.
So Minter as head coach, McDaniel as the OC.
Yeah, well, I think Minter's not going to take he's not going to move to not be the one, or Kubiak Derde coming with him as the bring Mike McDonald's DC with.
So
do
you're
Kubiak and Derde.
So McDaniel's not going to get another head coaching gig, is what you're banking on essentially, because you said there's a lot of spots open right now. So
there are, and it's totally
He's had
possible
interviews.
one of the quarterbacks can convince an owner that they want that. I do not think another NFL owner is going to sign up for what that looked like.
let me ask you, timing of the firing. Did they have to do this now?
Yes.
Did they have to do this now? Okay.
If it was going to happen,
because of
like
the
you were
coaches
already
available.
Yeah,
or
well,
not
because
available?
you already saw Harbaugh and Stefanski sign, and like other ones are scrambling for second interviews right now, including Joe Brady.
So again,
that, like,
so does
hey,
that make
if we
them
were
more
going to do
likely
this,
to
it
go
has to be
outside
this
the
second.
organization?
Real
That's
quick,
what I'm saying. You don't have to fire if you're keeping Brady. You don't have to fire McDermott right away.
Oh, fair point.
If you're promoting Brady or someone with an organization. So
Well,
again,
that's
the
interesting.
timing of who's available on the market. has
your
a lot to
concern
do
is
with the
Brady
firing.
takes the other jobs. He's going for second interview. So your concern is if you drag your feet on
you
it,
go.
Joe Brady's not going to be available. He's going to take something if it's offered.
And despite obviously him getting, stabbed in the back here, that's also the professional courtesy to McDermott.
Yeah.
Of the openings that are there. They're like, hey, if we're going to do this, give him a shot at what's there. So now again,
And I'm sure
saying
Germany
that they were
said
kind to him when they just shanked him is but in the grand scheme
It
of
was in
things,
the
that's
works. It was
And I'm
the
sure in
lesser
those
of
exit
evils.
meetings,
Let's say that.
I would think Sean McDermott was saying the same thing. Like, hey, if this is going to be how it goes, he clearly stated he wanted to continue coaching. If you're going to make this move, just let's do it now. I would think that he would also want that. Real quick, a lot of people in the comments talking about Gruden. I don't want Gruden anywhere near this organization.
He's been out of the game for a while.
Yeah,
That's a
he's already
big
making his niche already.
that's been a long time since he's been background. He's a fun personality. I get that sounds fun. That's a Rex Ryan hire. Like that would sound cool, and there'd be some fun magazine cover photo shoots. And then we'd be like, oh man, he doesn't care anymore. That dude's not grinding the way he used to.
Yeah, no, he's a smart mind. He knows his stuff. Obviously, he's got a really great tree and history. But the way he went out of the league and then him going to bar, he could. No, I'm good. I'm super good on that.
Yeah.
We got another super chat here from Ben Squires 3820. It feels to me like up and out post draft. This feels very corporate America-esque to me. You guys make the Bills so much more fun to watch with all the context and insight you add, and appreciate you all and all the time you put in here. I said it after the season, guys, like making content's tough. Putting your name out there is tough. Putting it to your face is tough. We get a lot of haters. We get a lot of people crapping on us. So people like you, Ben, people here in the comments, all the people that have tuned in to watch, you guys are what makes this awesome for us and allow us to do this. So thank you for that comment. That goes out to everybody here today.
So hey, for whatever it's worth, I know we obviously have a combination of different sources and things. Jeremy White been around the team and around the organization a fair amount, saying, well, the little birdie that told me this morning that McDermott was going to be gone, that I did not believe at the time, included in that message that Clint Kubiak would be top of the list.
Well, that's awesome. I've watched so many Seahawks games this year, and we all like Kubiak. And that, can you imagine that? Like Erik, you talked about it, like how many that tree and that influence in this league. But Greg, you mentioned this as well with Shanahan. Like Shanahan traded so much to try and get Trey Lance because he thought that this system, that he was going to Super Bowls with Jimmy Garoppolo and all this, he thought that Trey Lance skill set, which, forgive me for the blasphemy, is the Josh Allen type of skill set, the size and the arm and the athleticism. He thought that skill set would take his already fantastic schematic offense to the next level, that he was willing to trade so much and go after that. So getting someone, again, Kubiak isn't Shanahan, but getting someone from that tree with that mind and putting Allen into it, I would sign up for that right now. Yeah,
I would love to see who he would bring in as the defensive coordinator, because obviously that's huge. One of my big concerns right here. We've talked a lot about the schematic of what this defense is. I think it's super particular to a scheme. And so I think that's going to be a big build for whoever it is.
And I'd like to see it tweaked a little. I'd like to see some of the schematics tweaked and some of the archetype stuff, but it's dependent on who they bring in, to your point.
It's going to be a big lift. But Kubiak would be definitely I think Joe Brady, the fan base wouldn't feel great about. I think the reaction would be boring. We've seen it before. I think everybody's out on draft. I think he did a better job than people are giving him credit for this year, especially in the postseason. I think with what he had, Erik, you did a great job of how guys were getting schemed open here this playoffs. So I think he's better than people want to give him credit for, but he's not the fun, exciting, hot, sexy name that a Clint Kubiak is. And I think that would get the fan base, which is important in all of this for Terry Pegula. There's a big goal to get to the Super Bowl, but Terry Pegula has to keep the fans engaged and can't get stagnant. I think Clint Kubiak would be something that's kind of showing you that, hey, we're all in on changing the direction of things and how they've gone.
And especially too, like, not that this is like a huge piece of it, but you're going into the new stadium. Like, you've got this new kind of changing of the guard. Like, you would feel that you would want to kind of, not that this should influence who you bring in. If you think Joe Brady's the best job, even though you think it might be unsexy or not, super awesome, you should make that move. But do we think that like plays into the back of his mind at all, of being like, we got to keep this momentum going? Like, we had an ugly loss. Josh is crying. Things aren't great. We got a new stadium opening. We got to, like, what's fun? What's exciting? What's this?
Red helmets. Red helmets is all.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, you can cure everything. Yeah, red helmets and everything's good.
All right, guys, here real quick, since my family is going to kill me here that we're about an hour, let's go around the horn again with some final thoughts here to leave the people with Greg. What's your final thoughts? Where are you at?
So I think a lot of folks in the chat talking about, like, this is a flashpoint, an inflection point, that this is, Josh Allen's 29 years old. He's going to be turning 30. We have a window here of still prime Josh Allen, and that this is that moment. There will never be a greater opportunity to win a Super Bowl for this organization than to get this decision right, to get the right leadership structure, offense, and organization around Josh Allen and capitalize on these next 5 years. So this is, arguably the most important decision this franchise will ever make. Obviously choosing Josh Allen set this up, and now they have to get this right, because once we get past there, the odds we ever get another Josh Allen, we live that. We've experienced that for the other 60 years of this organization's history. This is an absolutely critical decision. Shout out to Sean McDermott. I think he is a fantastic human being. I think he's a genuinely good man. I think he's incredibly well respected. I don't think he was a perfect football coach, but I was always proud that he was my team's coach. I always felt good that he was coaching my team and leading my organization, and I always felt good about him being there. I think he's going to be successful somewhere else. I won't be shocked if he wins somewhere else. I think there's Andy Reid possibilities here. But I'm happy for him. I have no hard feelings. And Brandon Beane, careful what you wish for. This is all the pressure on him. You better be right. You better be right.
Well said. Well said. Real quick here before we get to you, Anthony, Wade Phillips had a banger of a tweet. He is very surprised that the Bills fired their head coach after a playoff loss. Signed, Wade Phillips.
Signed Wade
Love
Phillips.
that for Wade.
Yeah.
Where are you at?
I'm just again surprised that it was just McDermott and not Beane and McDermott. I think for as many flaws as McDermott has, as many flaws as this team has or has had, or the failures they've had in not getting over the hump, there's just as many like kind of bodies in Beane's closet as there are in McDermott's, for as many of the issues of, oh, this has been building for years, and it's not just one game, or it's not just this season. All of that can be applied to Brandon Beane as well. Like we talked about it, the contracts that were handed out to certain free agents, and like how it kind of looked at the time and how they haven't aged well. Certain extensions within the team that haven't aged well. Certain draft picks when other guys were available, like pressing needs versus best player on the board versus, attacking this position multiple times and how it hasn't worked. I don't even think it's much of a devil's advocate type of thing. You really can kind of put a lot of that on Beane just as much as you would put on McDermott. So McDermott going just by himself doesn't sit well with me. And it kind of has me, giving pause a bit for the direction of the team. If Beane is still the one calling the shots and putting the roster together, are we still in the same boat, next year, the year after that, even if you've got new scheme or new structure, if the philosophies from the top down are staying the same, or the archetypes or the evaluation processes, Aaron, you made the analogy earlier, but if you bring in a new cook, but all the ingredients are still the same, like what kind of dishes can you make if you're still only shopping for the same stuff and the cupboard is full with the same stuff? But I'm really intrigued. I'm really interested. I think there are some coaches out there that could do a good job that I'm excited for. But McDermott going in this manner and Beane staying and then kind of essentially getting that promotion doesn't sit great with me, just with what we've seen with this team and where they failed to get over the hump.
Yeah, it's a lot to process, right, guys? It's a lot to process. At the very same time, it felt in sense like this was going to happen. Albeit, I do think we thought it was going to be the reverse and Beane to go first rather than McDermott, and especially didn't see a promotion. But again, I still think I'm still wait and see mode on that because I feel like something else is coming. If I'm thinking of like, okay, if Kubiak is the guy that's atop the list, and Jeremy is pretty good when it comes to his sources and stuff like that, and he wouldn't put it out there irresponsibly, it would make sense. And I do wonder, I'm trying to trace, like, Terrence Gray was in Minnesota when Kubiak was there, if I remember correctly, or it was very close. But I just feel like there's something to be said. I think some kind of promotion is going to happen there, but I do feel bad for McDermott and how it all went down and the optics of it. Maybe there were some things that we don't quite know about. There was more behind the scenes, obviously. But I don't think I was all too shocked that McDermott was fired. 9 years, it's a long time. And as everyone has talked about, Josh Allen is in that phase now, in that back quarter, back third of his career. This is a big play right here. This is a big, important decision. And as good as Sean McDermott was at structuring this organization and being consistent and getting everyone to play up and be better versions of themselves, all of that wasn't good enough. There were times where, the defense just wasn't there to help and bail the offense out. And you can say vice versa as well. There were times where the offense didn't uphold their end of the bargain. But when you're putting up 30 points consistently, you want your defense to stand up at times. And being a defensive-minded head coach, that's kind of, one of the reasons he was brought into Buffalo. And so I'm not shocked that this happened, but at the same time, I think it did run its course. And so, and I'll admit, before this, I really didn't care whether they were going to fire him or keep him, because you can make the case for both sides. And so that's why I was not that shocked about this move.
Greg, you had a point? You're muted.
Mute.
It's not an episode of Cover One Buffalo without Greg muting.
You were spot on. Kubiak overlapped with Terrence Gray for 2 years in Minnesota in 13 to 14.
A couple more super chats here. Brothers, it's Marv Levy time. Every day, I'm shocked that Marv's still kicking. Love
God
Marv.
Bless him.
God bless Marv Levy. And Jason M here. I hate 90% of the options. We were discussing feel lateral. Kubiak is the only hire I can get on board with right now.
You want to know why they feel lateral? Because they are. Because Sean McDermott's the best coach on the available market right now. Yeah, that's why. By the way, my Cleveland Browns group chat are unanimous. Like, yes, immediately hire Sean McDermott right now.
Yeah, for sure. He's a good coach. My immediate feel to this, and I hope that I'm wrong. Greg, you brought up a great point. This is a huge inflection point for this franchise as to whether or not they are able to get it done in the Josh Allen era. And so this is the biggest decision that they have to make. And in that, I don't love not making it a full clean slate sweep here. I do think it's a mistake. I really hope I'm wrong and that Brandon Beane has a good plan in place to continue forward with this team, and that he sold Terry Pegula on a really solid plan and that everybody's on board with it. It's just like when I talk negatively about any Bills players, I hope they prove me wrong because I want nothing but success for this organization, but it does not. This feels very Sabres-y to me, and that you're kind of just spinning some wheels and hoping something works and throwing something at a wall. I hope I'm proven wrong. But right now, I don't feel great about the not sense of direction right now that this organization has in a very pivotal moment, especially with, Greg, I know you're going to do your salary cap extravaganza coming up. This is a great organization. It will be a highly sought after job because Josh Allen is here, but almost everything else about this job is tough. This is a tough one for anyone to step into with the salary cap the way it is, some of the contracts the way they are. And that's Brandon Beane's fault for putting you in that position. And now you're going to give the guy more responsibility after putting you in this situation. Just feels like the wrong decision. So hopefully there's people that make a lot more money than me, that are smarter than me about this, and that it will result in exactly what we all want, which is the Bills getting over this hump. So, guys, absolutely appreciate everybody jumping on here with us. All you guys to take
8,000 of you psychopaths in here watching with this
Yeah,
bunch of crazy
man.
people.
And we're not the
Good
only
work.
ones live. There's a ton of people live. So thank you for choosing us to be the ones to kind of go through this. We talk about it all the time on the Cover One Buffalo podcast. We're almost therapists for the fan base at times, more than we are analysts for the fan base. And it felt like maybe today was a little bit more therapy than it was analysis. So we appreciate you guys always choosing to give your views to us, to give your likes to us. It makes all the difference in the world to us here at Cover One. So on behalf of Anthony Praska, Erik Turner, and Greg Thompson, I'm Aaron Quinn. You have been listening to Cover One. And till the next time, guys, we are out.